My name is Mike Dech. I am a senior animal care specialist at the Seas with Nemo and Friends at EPCOT. I have been fortunate enough to work with animals of many types for the last 28 years, mostly aquatics. I worked mostly with sea lions, whales, and dolphins, sharks, sea turtles, fish, birds, manatees, you name it. It's been quite a wild ride over the last 28 years, and I'm here to answer questions. Where are lionfish originally from? So lionfish are native to the Indo-Pacific Ocean, and they are found far into the Red Sea, which is right there by Egypt. There are currently 16 known species of lionfish, and while they are absolutely gorgeous animals, they are invasive to this side of the ocean and are causing real problems for the ecosystem. How did lionfish get here? The simple answer is the pet trade. Like many other invasive species here in Florida, like the pythons down in the Everglades, at some point, someone must have released one or several lionfish into the ocean. And obviously, this must have happened multiple times over the years for this many individuals to have grown in number throughout the region. Now, it's highly unlikely that someone would have done this release maliciously. Instead, those individuals most likely thought they were being kind by setting the animals free, or somehow, some way they were ill-equipped to care for them. And so they thought, well, rather than killing this animal, let me just release it, unknowing that it was an invasive species to this part of the world and the absolute destruction it would wreak upon the ecosystem. So lionfish were first spotted along the southeastern coast of Florida in the mid-1980s. The water down here is warm and the environment is plentiful, and it's ideal for them, and thus they have very successfully established themselves and have greatly multiplied on this side of the planet. What makes lionfish harmful to the environment? Despite their size, lionfish are voracious predators and are eating up many of the smaller fish in the Caribbean. This throws the established food chain off in that environment. Now, other species of fish that typically feed on those smaller fish are either finding themselves starving due to lack of food, or they're beginning to eat other species that they may not necessarily eat, or they're eating less of them, or more of them rather, I apologize. And this affects larger and larger animals as you move up that food chain until you eventually reach the area's typical megafauna. Now, even worse, larger predators like sharks and Goliath groupers typically will not eat lionfish. How is the problem of invasive lionfish currently being managed? Well, that's being managed a number of ways. The most important one is education and prevention. That's always the start. Teach people that there is a problem and how to better prevent that and keep that from happening. Now, teaching the aquarium and diving community of the problem to ensure more animals aren't being released, however the good intentions, is definitely a way to start, but the problem is already happening. The fire has already begun. So many dive shops, dive boats, and dive clubs have lionfish derbies throughout the year to try to cull the lionfish in the area. And now the kind of silver lining there, because I'm an animal lover and I'd hate to see any animal get killed, even if it's for hunting purposes. The animals themselves, the lionfish, are proven to be quite the delicacy. Apparently they make fantastic fish tacos or ceviche. So that is the silver lining to them being culled and hunted, is they're going to a good cause, and that is they're quite tasty. Now, Florida Fish and Wildlife will also offer incentives throughout the year. During lobster season, there'll be times where you would get incentives as a diver to hunt lionfish to get more lobsters added to your license. For example, you might get an extra lobster for every 5 or 10 lionfish that you kill. How can regular people help? The best way you can help is by understanding the detrimental effects that any invasive species has on an environment, whether it's lionfish or Cuban geckos or Burmese pythons. Unless you're sure that you can adequately care for a certain type of animal, it's simple. Don't purchase one. And spread the word far and wide. Another thing we can do to help is by continuing to purchase lionfish meat from restaurants and from stores to show the demand for their meat and to incentivize those locations to keep buying them from fishermen and divers. That will help reduce the amount of lionfish currently found in the wild. Are lionfish safe to handle, or how do you handle them? Oh, no, no, no. Without proper equipment and training, the answer is absolutely no. They are not safe to handle. Their venomous spines are their only defense, and they are extremely potent. The sting is exceptionally painful. Myself, fortunately, I have yet to experience the pain firsthand, but one of my good friends, Roger, who is a big, tough dude, he's a big boat captain, he was hit in the hand by a lionfish, and he had tears in his eyes from the pain. Now, while the pain is extreme, the lionfish stings are not generally considered fatal unless you happen to be allergic to the venom, and there's really only one way to find out. Now, how do you handle them? Obviously, the best way to take care of them, to cull them, is to spear them. So they're quite small, so the typical poker-type spear guns are quite effective when dealing with lionfish. And divers will carry with them basically a giant fat plastic tube called a zookeeper, and they'll stuff the lionfish carcass into that zookeeper. And then once you pull them out, if you know how to remove the venomous spines, if you're trained on how to do that, you can remove those venomous spines, and then you can properly clean them to consume them. Interesting biology facts. Now, while invasive and harmful here in Florida and in the Caribbean, lionfish have a very important role to play in their own natural environment, in the Indo-Pacific and in the Red Sea. They keep the populations of tiny fish in natural alignment. And as mentioned before, they are venomous, but they're not poisonous. So they are safe to eat, and they are quite delicious. And of course, we all know the difference between venomous and poisonous. And if you don't, venomous means they sting you or somehow inject their toxic venom into you. Poisonous means if you consume them, you become poisoned, you get sick. Will climate change have an influence on the effect lionfish have in the environment? Absolutely yes. So lionfish thrive in warm water. With rising sea temperatures, the environment is becoming even more hospitable to the species. As coral populations die off due to rising temperatures, smaller fish populations will inevitably decline. And through the predatory behavior that lionfish exhibit, they contribute to a much faster destruction of those species. Those species are dying off due to lack of food and lack of habitat. But those lionfish being there, they're simply making the process go faster.